Trichotillomania covers all kinds of hair, so scalp, eyebrows, arm hair, chest hair, armpit hair, facial hair, and pubic hair, but that one tends to get left off the list a lot. People find it quite embarrassing to talk about that. I personally am not embarrassed that I pull out my pubic hair, and I don't think we should be embarrassed, but I do tend to choose the right moments to talk about it. I don't feel that many people open up about pubic pulling. There's not that much information or experiences or just anybody openly talking about it, so I thought I'd have a go. But before I continue with this video, know that there are no images of any kind, diagrams or photos. In addition to that, if you're somebody that finds discussions about trichotillomania quite triggering, then just proceed with caution. In terms of Trich talking, I might be a bit graphic. I guess some of the stuff I might share might be seen to be a bit too personal, but I feel it's valid. And the last thing is, I'm sitting on a very squeaky chair. You might have heard it already. So yeah, there's some funny noises in the background of this. This is completely unscripted, so I'm sort of feeling my way with this. Okay, let's talk about how I started pubic pulling. I think lots of people assume that I started pubic pulling around the same time that I started scalp pulling, and no. I mean, the most obvious reason is because when I started my scalp pulling, I didn't have any pubic hair. My pubic hair started to appear when I was about 12 or 13, roughly. It's one of those things I didn't really pay attention to until sex suddenly appeared in my life, and then I was like, oh goodness, there's hair, what do I do with it? I didn't start grooming my downstairs until I was about 18, 19. But in terms of pulling, I know exactly when I started, and that was when I shaved my hair for the first time. My Trich was so severe the first time I shaved my head. Just getting rid of that overnight caused so many problems because I still had these really, really bad urges and nowhere to go. So I attacked everywhere else. If you look at the photo every day, you can see my eyebrows disappear, like overnight, they just go. Once my eyebrows disappeared, the only place left was downstairs. And for about 2 or 3 years, the pulling was quite aggressive and it was painful. I think I'll get onto that. But it's only in the last 2 years that I've started to suppress the urges, and I don't know whether this is in conjunction with my scalp urges. I've managed to suppress this a lot in comparison to what I used to do. So I do still pull out my pubic hair, but not quite to the extent that I used to. One of the most common questions with my scalp pulling is, does it hurt? And my answer is always no. But downstairs, yes. I'm just talking from my experience, but my scalp is quite rigid, whereas downstairs, it moves around a bit more, it's quite soft. I know I told you I'd be graphic, but that does make a difference, because as you're pulling, you're also pulling your body as well. I find the further back I go, the less painful, the further forward, ouch. So what do I do to combat the pulling? Well, this is where pubic pulling is much easier to process and cope with than scalp pulling. Your scalp and other areas of your body are with you and out in the open practically all the time, whereas downstairs, the majority of the time, unless you're a nudist, it's in private, it's covered up. That can help. I couldn't sit in lectures and tear my pubic hair, I had to wait until I went home. That does help. It's frustrating, but for me, one of the ways I have tackled downstairs is by shaving it. That seems quite an obvious way to tackle. When I was 18, I shaved the whole thing and I thought, yes, I don't have to worry about my downstairs Trich anymore, it's over. And no, it came back with a massive, massive vengeance. Because as soon as it started growing, not only did it rub and cause irritation, but it just felt even more triggering. Getting past that period of stubble was tough, and I've never ever gone back. I never shave the whole thing. My urges are less now, but the biggest thing I do to combat my Trich at the moment down there is to shave part of it and trim the rest. It annoys me because my downstairs grows so much faster than anywhere else on my body, so it's something you have to do like every 3 days. Any longer than that and there's hair. I have never waxed my lady bush, ever, and I don't intend to. And both of those things surprise people because they think that because I pull my hair, waxing would be fun. The idea of waxing my rose garden just freaks me out. I don't think I could cope with that level of pain. Although I like having pubic hair, the hair itself is a very different texture to my hair up here. That's another reason why I find it so irritating with my fingers, because it's so much thicker. I'm going into a lot of depth about my downstairs, but it does make a difference with Trich. Lots of Trichers find that darker hair, coarser hair is more triggering. I do. My downstairs is a variety of colours, but some of it is black, some of it is brown and very, very thick, and when I see that or feel that, gotta go straight away. The thing is, in terms of the hair downstairs, I don't find it tickly or irritating in that respect. It's more my urges in my hands, and the pop again. So it's not like I've got ants in my pants 24/7. It's a different, it's not the same. I guess the next thing to say is damage. Does it do damage? Yes. If you're somebody that does shave your downstairs, you know when you get ingrown hairs and little blood spots and stuff like that? Sometimes when I pull very, very badly, I can be covered in that. It's almost as if downstairs starts swelling up and it's just very, very tender. When I was about 21, I tore the most out that I have ever done before and have never done again. And I was quite scared it wouldn't grow back. Hello, just to say it did, but it took months to recover. And sometimes depending on how severe the pulling is, it can take a while. It doesn't just grow back as if you cut it. Going back to what I said earlier about my pulling places, whereabouts I pull from, sometimes I have used tweezers to achieve what I wanted because I haven't been able to pluck. That's bad. I'm quite lucky in that I don't have much hair outside of my neckline. I know some Trichers and other people that have hair that comes quite far down, and I know that can be quite triggering. But for me, I just tend to pluck the edges. Actually, that's one of the reasons why I would sort of get into pulling modes, because I would start with the bikini line and then progress inwards, and then before you know it, half of it's missing. If you're somebody that does want to pluck your bikini line, I'd say wear your knickers as you're doing it, because then you're not distracted by all the hair that's sort of in the middle. You're only concentrating on what's on the outside. Things I haven't found too helpful, but other people have found helpful, are Vaseline or bio oil. Putting that on your hair downstairs, it makes it more slippery. One thing I forgot to mention was ingrown hairs. I'm very prone to ingrown hairs downstairs. I'm not sure whether that's because of the places I'm pulling or how my clothes rub against my skin. But yeah, ingrown hairs have been a huge problem. In turn, they have provoked pulling periods because you start with the ingrown hair and then you progress to other areas. The rest of this section where I'm wearing this pink top, there will be a trigger warning for self-harm. So once I cut back to the next bit, you'll be okay. Self-harm is quite different to Trich, but my next description may be a bit graphic. In the past, I have literally cut into my skin to get the hairs out. This is bordering on dermatillomania, I suppose. But when the hairs are so tiny or they're very under the skin, it's just, yeah. And it is so hard trying not to do that. But I've learnt that it just makes things worse. It's best to let them grow, and then when they're long enough, pull them through and then let them grow. Even if it means having a random black hair outside your knickerline, it's better having that hair or trimming it down than constantly having a black bloody scab. When I'm in one of those zones where I will attack to the point of bleeding with my fingers or tweezers, I will apply pseudo cream, I will wear loose shorts, not knickers because that can irritate, especially if you're already in a bad way down there. When that happens, the best thing to do is to leave it alone. And that's very, very hard saying that to Trichers. The more you touch it, the worse it will get. Also because you've got bacteria on your fingers, so think of bacteria in spots, you just spread the germs and make things worse. Try not to touch. I've had a few other problems before where I've opened up about this, and straight away the people that I've opened up to have, you know, looked at me in really strange ways or made comments or thought me to be unhygienic. You know, suddenly no one wants to shake your hands. But in life, our hands are used for so many things. Just think of sex. Not me and sex, but in general, look at people's hands. They've been everywhere. I don't think it's any different. I mean, I wash my hands. It's not like we're the only people that touch our private parts. I mean, everybody uses the loo. Gosh, more graphic imagery, sorry. I probably overwash my hands because I'm always worried about germs and bacteria. And I use so much hand cream. I mean, I worked at Lush for a year, so I was washing my hands like 40 times a day. Can't be any cleaner than that. I also think there's a bit of misconception with comparing pubic pulling to personal grooming. They can be quite different. That can be quite annoying as well sometimes because you're trying to talk about something that is affecting you and is painful, but it's passed off as just grooming. Grooming can be painful, but it's not necessarily the same as an impulse control disorder or OCD. So if you're a non-Tricher and somebody opens up about how they can't stop pulling their pubic hair, don't just put it down to grooming. About 2 years ago, I did a video about trichotillomania and sex, and I will link that in the video description downstairs, or a card up there, or whatever. And I mentioned pubic pulling. I'm not gonna lie, pubic pulling has caused a few problems with intimacy. When you're downstairs, it's rough, red, sore, pussy, scabby. Sex can be quite painful. I think I described it as feeling as though someone was rubbing you with sandpaper. It hurts. So that's been annoying. Another thing is that the way it looks can put people off. Not always, but I have had the odd moment where it's created like a barrier. I have had a partner in the past though that really didn't mind. Relationships and Trich, I can't say this, they're very varied. Every relationship is different, so my experiences might not be the same for other people. I think the biggest problems in my relationships have actually been my scalp Trich and my mental health as opposed to downstairs. This has a high correlation with my mental health, whereas downstairs, it's not quite the same. It's so annoying and it hurts, but it doesn't have that mental pain attached. If you are somebody out there that does pull out your pubic hair, you are not alone. You've got me. If you're somebody that does pull out your pubic hair and is nervous about opening up or going to the doctor, I'd say just go. Because I think it's just as valid as any other type of trichotillomania. I have edited this video down from about 25 minutes of solid vlogging, so whatever you're seeing, I hope it's okay. I've tried to be as candid and open as possible, so... By the way, as I've been vlogging this, I have had trousers on. Look, there we go. It just occurred to me that because I've not shown my trousers in this, you guys might have thought I did this with no knickers on. When I've been gesturing downstairs, I've been looking at my trousers. Been looking at this, the ties on my trousers. If you want to leave a comment downstairs below, that's absolutely fine. I will moderate the comments because I'm expecting some sort of backlash from people who don't understand this, so don't worry, I'll be careful. I'm a bit nervous of putting this out, truth be told, but I've tried my best. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.